Good evening, buyers. Welcome to the POPI tutorial. The purpose of this evening is to just talk you through the basics, to explain to you that this is a good thing. Protecting people's personal information is important, and for you as well as your clients and anyone out there. I'll talk you through the process that you have to follow. For those of you who don't know, hi, I'm Riana from VAC, Practice Management Director. And this is just a little something from BASA's side to try and reduce the anxiety out there. Please note, this is for every business in the country, even resident associations. It's not targeted at a specific profession and shouldn't be seen as such. So what I'm going to do tonight is I'll just talk you through a quick summary of what POPI is, and then I'll explain the manual that BASA sent out, and I'll explain the compliance framework that I sent out. And basically, I'm going to try and answer as many of the questions that you have been asking by email in one go. So if you're patient, sit through it, just make a note if you have anything that you'd like to know, and we will organize a follow-up Q and A session in about a week's time. So I'm just going to go ahead and screen share. Okay, so let's start with the summary of what the POPI Act basically is saying. POPI has been brought into effect in South Africa from the 1st of June in 2020. I think all of us were just so focused on COVID and the financial constraints that we've been experiencing that this kind of just went under the radar. It is not a bad thing. It's there to protect you. It's there to protect your business. And the purpose is to balance the rights of your privacy against other rights, and to protect the free flow of information. Also, to regulate the way that personal information is processed, to provide the public with their rights in respect to information processing. And this in particular is a big thing because I think a lot of us have been very irate in the recent past about our information being shared to multiple companies without our permission. So POPI is there to protect all of us. POPI is there to establish voluntary but also compulsory measures to ensure respect for other people's rights. Okay, it's there to ensure that we respect each other. Now, there are a few important considerations. In Part A, you'll see, if you like, you can email me, but you can get the POPI Act by just Googling it or on the Information Regulator's website. But basically, POPI affects the way in which we collect information and how we store it, as well as the way we process it. The Act clearly states under legislation that there are more extensive guidelines, okay, regarding the processing of personal information. One of which is the National Health Act, and then subsequent to that, the HPCSA guidelines on record keeping. You do not need to apply for exemption. Someone who's not in the health industry must destroy information after 2 years. We will get to how you will do that. But as a healthcare professional or a medical aid or any such related business must keep medical records for 7 years. Thereafter, it must be destroyed. There are certain rules where you're dealing with minors, etc. I refer you to the HPCSA's guidelines for record keeping. Please stick to that and you'll be safe. Now, there are 8 basic conditions to consider when you are lawfully going to process personal information. One is accountability, okay? So that means that's where the information regulator comes in, and that is why by law, every company or business is required to register an information officer. And that person is going to be responsible for maintaining compliance. Process limitations should be considered, such as the lawfulness of the processing, minimality, okay? So you are only going to gather the information that you require, nothing more. You must gain consent. You must have justification for gathering that information, and the data subject or person must be able to object to the collection of that information, okay? You can only collect data from the person. There are very specific rules when it comes to getting information from third parties. In the healthcare industry, you are not allowed to do so. So, for argument's sake, if a patient phones you and they are unhappy with a colleague's performance, then the patient must contact your colleague, or you can contact your colleague, but the patient must get their file from that colleague, not you. Okay, you must specify why you are collecting the data, what the purpose for it is, and there must be specific rules for retention and restriction of records. In other words, you are gathering medical aid information because your patient requires you to claim from the medical aid, and the information will only be made available to the medical aid until such time as your patient tells you not to, okay? When you are taking information and you are processing it further for other purposes, for argument's sake, marketing, the processing must be in line with the purpose of the collection, okay? So you can decide to send a newsletter to your patients, but the newsletter needs to relate to the scope of biokinetics. The quality of the information that you gather must be complete, it must be accurate, and updated when and where necessary. Then openness. This is why you have the POPI manual that you have to complete with the list of documents that are in there and should be available to the public. You must maintain this documentation so you can be open about the purpose of your information collection. And then also, you must notify a data subject when you are collecting personal information. So you need to email a client and ask them if you can send them a newsletter before you even send the letter. Okay. And it's better to have it in writing. Okay, then security is very important with POPI. You must ensure integrity and confidentiality of the information. Okay, so paper copies locked away in a filing cabinet, and only specific persons are allowed access to that. And whenever that file cabinet is accessed, you need to write that down and keep a log. Just makes it easier that when there is a breach, you can trace that. information must be processed by the person acting under authority. In other words, if you have a practice manager or a receptionist who does your invoicing and your medical aid claims, then you need to make that person either a deputy officer, or you need to have a document in place swearing that person to confidentiality with your patient's records. It also needs to be in your consent form that you give your clients that there is a receptionist or a practice manager that is processing the information. Okay? You must ensure that the operator establishes and maintains security measures, and this is where training comes in place. And then you must notify all data subjects of any security compromises. Okay, now data subjects, or it sounds terrible, your patients have the right to access their personal information, so they can ask you at any time what information you have stored of them, and you need to give them access. Okay, they have the right to correct that information if it is incorrect, and the manner in which it is accessed must comply with the POPI Act. So several documents have been shared onto social media. We are creating this tutorial. Once the email system is up, we will email all the documents to you, and then you must use these processes for the patient to actually apply to obtain access, and for you to share that and keep that on file so that you are not seen as in breach of POPI. Then part B and C is all about information that you are not allowed to process. So according to POPI, you may not process religious or philosophical beliefs, race, political persuasion, or biometric information unless it is for research purposes and unless you have applied for consent from the information regulator in order to do so. You may also not gather information about criminal behavior if that criminal behavior has not been processed or confirmed. Okay. You may not market to a minor. Okay, very important. We have to gather information for clinical use sometimes for a patient that is a minor, but you must have consent from the legal guardian or the parents in writing before you gather that information, and you may under no circumstances market to that minor. Okay, there are special processes in place to process such information. The document where you will find all of this is called POPI Regulations 2018. I have gone and I've divided each circumstance for you, put that on one page, and the required forms to complete in the same document. You will be provided with it, okay? Now, each profession should have a code of conduct. For your information, BASA is fully compliant with POPI. Your information is safe with us. We will still send the documentation to you so you can approve for us to keep your information and what information we will be keeping. Just keep an eye on your emails. But BASA already has a code of conduct. And when we make our big reveal in July, you will be asked to agree to this code of conduct so that we can uphold a high standard within our profession. We will, on behalf of the profession, register this code with the information regulator, and it will then be published in the government gazette. So even if you are not a BASA biokineticist, all biokineticists will have access to the code of conduct for biokinetics. Then your data subjects have rights. Before you do direct marketing, your data subject must give written consent. Okay, so here is where you are affected. If you are creating newsletters or you are sending emails, with practice information, or you are sending SMSs when you are doing wellness days, for argument's sake, you must first send out a marketing opt-in or out document to all of your patients. And these patients must sign it and send back and give you consent before you send out any further marketing. I recommend that for the month of July, you just put everything on hold until you have all of your POPI compliance points under the knee and you know that you are safe and protected. Okay, you may only process data of a subject that is your customer, okay, and only in terms of sale of your service, not for other products. And then when it comes to rendering your services and submitting to medical aids, okay, this person must be given reasonable opportunity to give consent. So you can't send out an email today and expect them to answer by tomorrow and assume that if they don't, that is consent. Okay, so all marketing material, newsletters, emails, SMSs, WhatsApp, must contain your contact details so that the person can withdraw consent. Consent can be withdrawn at any time, okay? Now, just bear in mind in terms of directories, the only area where we are really involved in directories is where we advertise our services, such as med pages. But just so we're clear, you cannot go into the phone book, grab a couple of people's contact information and send through marketing to them. That is it's non-compliant with POPI, okay? And then when it comes to automated decision-making, do not make use of an automated decision-making process as a healthcare professional when it comes to your data subjects. You handle it, or your information officer handles it, because doing it places you in a precarious position in terms of negligence. So it might feel to you like it's a lot of work, but in the end and in the long run, it's going to save you a lot of time and also a lot of money when it comes to fines given to you by the information regulator. Then, very important, you may not transfer personal information outside the borders of this country. So you cannot send it from here to Lesotho because it's another country, okay, without consent from the information regulator. So even if you're doing it via a third party, okay, so you have to ask your patient. Patient needs to give written consent. You then apply to the information regulator and only then. Please note, Gmail and Yahoo, unfortunately, are international providers. You cannot use a Gmail or a Yahoo address for your business any longer. It is not POPI compliant, because if you send an email via Gmail, it crosses the borders, okay? You also cannot make use of Google Drive to store your patient information or any personal information, including your employees. Dropbox is also considered in the same light, okay? POPI prefers digital records, but on your laptop or a hard drive that you back up, okay? The best place to store digital patient records is to ask your billing software platform to provide you a space where you can save patient notes. Scan it in, save it on there, and destroy the paper copies, okay? Please note, if your patient intake and booking system is online, you must send each patient a unique link that cannot be duplicated when you send them intake forms, okay? There are circumstances where you might have to share information across borders, such as a patient immigrating, okay, but you need a consent form signed by the patient, and there's an application that you have to send to the information regulator for compliance. Okay. Please refer to Chapter 10, 11, and 12 of the POPI Act for enforcement rules and processes. It is important that you go through this because you need to know that you could be fined or big fines in lieu of 100,000 Rand, for argument's sake. And very scarily, the actual act says to maximum of 10 million. And also, if the whole process has been followed through by the information regulator and no remedy can be found, it can lead to a civil case. All right? Please, the easiest way is to always apologize and correct as requested in a timely fashion, and you'll be fine. Okay? And important, that's why we're going through all of this, keep a record. Okay, that is the basics of the POPI Act, right? But the implications of the POPI Act is far-reaching, okay? So one person has to be responsible for, let's say, coordinating the business's intentions of being POPI compliant. If you are a one-man show, you as owner will be your information officer, okay? Currently, I know there are a lot of queries regarding the website where you just can't submit, or where it has actually been saved and now you can't go any further because it says there's a duplicate ID. In due time, I will try and get hold of the information officer, but this really is something out of our BASA's hands. So have a document which you will call attempts to apply for information officer. And every time you go online and you don't succeed, write the date, sign next to it. Every time you send in the manual information officer document, which looks like this, and you get a reply back such as inbox is full, email could not be sent, make a note, sign next to it. As long as you can prove that you have continuously been trying, just keep making an attempt. These things are normal teething issues that all systems experience when there's a big change. Okay, so I just wanted to go through this form. So part A of the information officer details, those are the actual information officer's details, okay? So just to also say, if you have a big practice with multiple people under you, or you have multiple practice sites, it is a better idea to have someone at each site. So you are information officer in oversight as the owner, and each site has a deputy officer which will do the work and you can coordinate. So in part A, everyone's asked what designation is. It's your position in the company. Then all of the details of the actual company. Then you get to information officer details, deputy information officer, you can share that. Then this there's a lot of questions. The body, the responsible body, we are private bodies because we're not in public health. Then the full registered name, as is with CIPC, your CIPC registration number. If you don't have any, just say non-applicable, the details, website, and then there's a declaration that just says all of the details are correct. Part E is for statistical purposes. So you then just have to tick what is appropriate. So for us, you go to the profession section, okay, and you choose medical and allied health services, and that is it. Okay, let's go over to the compliance framework. Sorry, I just need to screen share. Okay, like I said, please write down all questions you have. You can send any questions that you have in terms of POPI to HQ, so BASA at biokinetics.sa.org.za. In the subject line, please say POPI Q and A. The office will collate it. The deadline for questions is Monday at 12 p.m. I will then collate everything, prepare the questions, and we'll do a recording where we answer questions. Okay, so just to reiterate, Monday the 5th of July at 12 p.m. is the deadline for questions concerning the POPI tutorial we're just sending, or any issues that you are experiencing. Please email to the office at basa@biokinetics.sa.org.za. We will collate all the questions, and then we'll do another tutorial where we answer as many of your questions as we can. So you can see on the screen, and this has been emailed, actually, the amazing Camilla has managed to send this out so that you all can get started. It is also on social media. But basically what I've done is I've created steps that you have to go through at the moment, and you have to check and sign that it has been done monthly. So you'll see I've created columns for 1 July, 1 August, etc. And then what you'll do is once something is done, you'll sign next to it or tick next to it, and you'll use this to create monthly what is called compliance reports. So you'll write a report, and very basic, you're just going to say all areas for data collections is compliant. Say for argument's sake, when we moved down to third-party processes, there was a problem with one of the vendors that has been addressed. This is how it's been remedied, what has been done to sort out the problem. And all of this you keep on file. You do not send this in anywhere. This is for your records, okay? So step number 1, when you're thinking of POPI in your business, you first have to think of areas where you collect data, okay? So we have patient intake forms, we have billing software, we all have websites, and remember, websites track information about locations, etc. We have social media. We all know social media makes use of algorithms. EDI is an information collection area. You make phone calls, you use WhatsApp, and also email, okay? So just identify that all of those areas will be affected by POPI, and how you can ensure that the personal information that you gather from there is kept safely, okay? Then step 2, you need to identify third-party processes. So for some of you, there'll be more. I have just gone and tried to create a list so that it gives you an idea of what you're looking at, okay? So be aware of social media algorithms. Just on a side note, I'm just still reading up on social media and WhatsApp. As soon as I have developed a plan of action for that, I'll share that with you guys as well. Remember that your EDI switch is a third party. Any intermediary platforms that you make use of, for argument's sake, medical aid wellness screenings, like the weight management programs that are submitted by Allegra. Your momentum multipliers will fall under there. Google Ads, all of those things have information, though Google Ads is more a question of, you'll have to speak to Google about this. I'm not quite sure how they track people's locations, etc. Then your websites gather information. Okay, so all of these, you have to have an agreement in place which ensures that all necessary steps have been taken not to leak people's personal information. So applications that stores personal information, remember, personal information or that makes it possible to identify someone is considered a name and a surname together. And then if there's a telephone number or an email connected to that, that's personal information. So if you are making use of programs such as Exercise Pro Online or Telehab or Rehab Guru, where you have to put in your patient's details to email them the program, this needs to be in your consent form. Your patient just needs to be aware, okay? Then your billing systems such as EasyMed, Panacea, Kudu, and all this other similar software, those have a lot of patient information in, and you should just make your patient aware that this is the software that you make use of, and you should all approach these vendors if they haven't contacted you yet, to just make sure what their policies are, and maybe just re-sign or ask to sign an amendment to the current contract that reiterates POPI compliance. Okay, then like I said, Allegra, Discovery Vitalities, Momentum Multipliers. Now, having said that, for those of you who were in the refresher course for the Vitalities, all these companies are taking POPI very serious. In fact, Discovery had a section on POPI compliance in Vitalities. So I don't think you need to worry about that, okay? And then just again, EDI software. Now, this is where it gets interesting. Security, okay? So if you have cloud-based storage, this needs to be password protected. Now, as said before, Google Drive and Dropbox are not considered POPI compliant, okay? It is very easy to hack into one of these drives. It is better to get a big external drive, or what I'm going to start doing is take all of my patient programs and notes, and I'm going to lock it in a drawer. The ones that I can destroy, I'll be destroying, and the rest I'll be digitalizing, because we have space in our software, billing software solutions in any case, to add that. It makes it easier in the long run, should you require to do motivational reports and so forth. Okay. Then all applications must have agreements to protect information. So that's everything that's on your laptop, on your phone, everything that you use to work with. Okay, staff information, very important. You have to protect employee information from other employees, okay? Files need to be locked away, and digital copies need to be password protected. Then in terms of technology, clouds, files on PCs, external hard drives, everything that contains other people's information, password protected. You can go one step further. You actually get encryption software. So if it is something that is very sensitive of nature, you can do that. Okay, very important. Free antivirus software is not POPI compliant. You have to find a good antivirus program. Keep up to date with the annual licenses and compliance. So this is very important because your firewalls that come with these antivirus programs are very important to protect hacking. Okay. Sorry guys, it's a mouthful. Hang in there. We're nearly there. Okay. Then when you in future going to replace your laptop or your computer, the safest form of technology is called solid state hard drive. Okay, it's much safer. Okay, and you should replace all PCs gradually in due course with those. Okay, all warranties must be tracked. So if your laptop goes out of warranty, you either need to extend the warranty or you need to replace it. Okay. Look into Windows and third patch management. This is very technical, but it has to be done. You also need a 30-day ransomware feedback and monthly encryption reports. Guys, you don't have to do it. There are companies that provide this service. And if you contact BASA, we probably could put you in contact with people, but you could also just Google and find someone. Okay. Create a top 20 security controls list. Okay, then all agreements that you have, sorry, the computer's doing funky things. All partner agreements must be amended to be POPI compliant. Consent and indemnity must be, okay, consent and indemnity updated. Vendor agreements updated, third-party agreements updated. Then, privacy policies for health records, social media, website, and marketing. Cookie policies and T's and C's for the website and for social media. Marketing opt-in and out policies and disclosures. Then, once you have done all of this, you need to, in written format, communicate with all partners, suppliers, customers, and send notices. Okay, and then we have addressed the data storage issue. So just for the purpose of this tutorial, all you need to know that should you get to a point where information is 7 years or older, you'll see in the documents, other regulation documents I created, there is an option for deletion. You need to complete that and keep it on record, and then you can destroy those documents, whether it's digital or in a hard copy. And lastly, but not the least, I just want to point out that the POPI manual that BASA supplied you with, you have to fill in the company's details. And then you'll see on page, let me look, page, I'm not going to bore you and go through all of it again. You can ask me questions, but from page 5, there is subsections of documents that you have to have on file and available. That includes company registration records, financial records, income tax records, personal documents and records. All of those you need to get templates for, okay? Complete it, encrypt it, keep it on file. So when an employee or a customer asks you for it, you need to be able to supply them with it. If you have done all of that and you just do checks often and you update your manual annually, and you send a report annually to the information regulator, which format I'm not sure of, I will revert back regarding that as well, then you should be fine. You guys don't need to be anxious. There is a lot of hard work that needs to be done. But in the end, it is there to protect you, to protect your staff, to protect your patients, and closer to home, protect your family. And so I think it's all of our duties to comply with this. Remember, you are a healthcare professional, and as a healthcare professional, there are higher standards of ethical compliance expected from you than the general public. And we should all set sort of a, now I can't find the word, do excuse me, but we should set an example for people out there so that they can all become compliant. You guys must all have a good evening. Sorry for the technical glitch. If you have any issues, please send in those questions. Remember, in the subject line, POPI Q and A to basa@biokineticssa.org.za before Monday, the 5th of July at 12 p.m. And we'll be back with your next tutorial on papaya. Have a good evening, guys. Bye.